Thank you for purchasing the AquaReveal series filter. This video will guide you through the installation and maintenance process for your new water filter. The unit ships ready for assembly with filters pre-installed. Please check to make sure none of the connectors or the heavy gauge ring nuts are loose before installation. Place the supplied wrench into the holes on the ring nuts on each canister and turn counterclockwise to make sure they're tight. The long hose marked cold line will be used to connect the filter to your kitchen cold line. The short hose is used to connect to your faucet in case you need an extension. These will only be required if your kitchen has half-inch connectors. Most homes and faucets sold in North America have the standard 3H connectors. The housing should be attached to the bracket with the supplied bolts and nuts for stability. Use the supplied bolts and nuts to secure the bracket to the housing by hand. If you have a wrench or pliers, you can further tighten the bolts, or leave them as they are, as it won't have an effect on how the machine functions. Hanging screws and anchors are provided if you plan on hanging the bracket. This requires drilling and installing the anchors into drywall. This step is optional. Since most people have limited under-counter space, they place the unit in the back corner of their kitchen counter. The flat bottom design of the unit will keep the housing stable. Turn your faucet on cold and leave it running. Locate the cold water line under the faucet and turn it off. The cold water line is usually located on the right side. It's good practice to also turn off the hot water line during installation. There should be no cold water coming out of your faucet. You will need a towel as some water will spill out from the faucet hose. Disconnect the hose from the water line by hand if possible. A wrench may be needed to make it loose. This hose will be used to connect to the outlet of the filter housing located on the right side. The flow of water is always from left to right on the housing marked by the arrows. If your hose is too short, you also need to connect the extension hose provided to make this connection. Alternatively, if your faucet or kitchen cold line uses half-inch connectors, you will need to use the adapters supplied. Connect the female thread first, followed by the male. Always tighten with your hands first and use a 1/4 inch turn with a wrench at the end to seal. Do not over-tighten, as this may damage the washers inside. Now we will connect the hose labeled cold line to connect the housing to the cold water line. Start by connecting the hose to the cold water line. Now connect the other end to the left inlet connector of the housing. Make sure all connections are tight and turn on the cold water valve. If you hear sounds coming from the housing, it is perfectly normal and caused by air leaving the unit. You should see water coming out of your faucet shortly. Murky water and cloudiness are normal for the first 24 hours as the filters are flushed. Please run the unit until the water is clear before use. Your water filter installation is now complete. Please check the housing and connectors to make sure there are no leaks or loose connections. If you see any leaks, please shut off the cold water valve, disconnect the unit, and check the leaking component. Shut off the cold water line valve and disconnect both braided hoses from the unit. The steps are similar to the installation process. We recommend disconnecting the housing and placing the filter in your sink for easier access. The hoses are designed to be easily disassembled and reassembled. Place the supplied wrench in the holes on the ring nut and turn clockwise. Once the ring nut is loose, turn it by hand and remove it completely from the housing. Pull the canisters away from the housing while holding the unit firmly. Now you can remove the filters. There will be water inside each canister, so make sure you perform this in your sink or have a bucket at hand. Notice the order and direction of water flow as shown by arrows on top of each canister base. Place the new filters inside each canister with the gasket side facing up towards the filter base. Make sure the white O-ring is placed properly in each base before reassembly. The canisters should sit firmly on top of each O-ring to make a watertight seal. Align the base on top of the first canister and apply pressure by hand to secure in place. Turn the ring nut counterclockwise while holding the canister and base in place. Tighten firmly using the supplied wrench. Follow these steps for the second or third canisters. The filter housing is now ready for reassembly to the kitchen faucet.